My child, stop scrolling for a moment. Do not move past this message like it is just another random video appearing on your screen tonight. It is not random. It is not coincidence. And deep down, a part of you already feels that. Because something inside you has been exhausted for a very long time. Not just physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tiredness that sleep cannot fully fix. The kind that follows you into quiet rooms. The kind that stays with you even while you smile at people and pretend everything is normal. And before you skip ahead, before distraction pulls your attention somewhere else, I need you to hear me carefully. This message found you because heaven has been watching your silent battles. Yes, even the ones nobody else noticed. I saw the nights when your mind would not slow down. I saw the moments you stared at the ceiling, wondering how much longer you could keep carrying all of this weight. I saw the disappointment you tried to hide behind fake strength. I saw the prayers you whispered quietly because you were afraid that if you spoke them out loud, the pain inside you would finally break open. And still, you kept going. That matters more than you realize. Because there were moments when even you did not think you would survive this season emotionally. There were moments when the pressure became so heavy that part of you secretly wanted to disappear from everything for a while. You smiled in public while privately fighting battles nobody could see. You answered messages while your heart felt numb. You kept showing up for responsibilities while your spirit felt completely drained. And the frightening part was not only the pain itself, it was how long it lasted. That is what almost broke you, not just the struggle, but the endless waiting, the repeated disappointment, the constant emotional exhaustion, the feeling that every time life almost became easier, something else collapsed again. You started wondering if peace was only something other people experienced. You started wondering if your breakthrough would ever actually come. And slowly, without realizing it, you became used to surviving instead of truly living. But listen to me now, my beloved child. What you thought was the end of your strength was actually the beginning of a transformation you could not yet see. Because while you were busy trying to survive, I was building something inside you. Even during the moments when you thought I was silent. Even during the moments when you questioned if I was listening. Even during the moments when you felt abandoned, I never left. Not once. I have called you by name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. You need to understand this deeply tonight. The enemy wanted you to believe your exhaustion meant you were weak, but that is not the truth. The truth is, you have been carrying more emotional weight than most people around you even realize. And somehow, you are still here, still breathing, still searching, still hoping. Even if your hope has become small and fragile, that tiny remaining spark inside you is important to me. Because many times you came dangerously close to giving up completely. You remember those moments. The nights when your thoughts became so loud that silence itself felt heavy. The mornings when getting out of bed felt harder than anyone would understand. The times when disappointment repeated itself so many times that your heart quietly stopped expecting good things. But my child, you survived all of it. And the fact that you survived is not ordinary. Do you know how many times you should have completely fallen apart by now? Do you know how many unseen dangers I protected you from? Do you know how many moments could have destroyed your future if my hand had not remained over your life? You thought you were walking alone through those dark seasons, but I was walking beside you the entire time, even when you could not feel me, even when your emotions told you otherwise, even when your prayers sounded weak and exhausted, I stayed. And I need you to hear this next part carefully, because this may be the confirmation your spirit has been waiting for. The season you are entering now will not look like the season you survived. Something is shifting, quietly, deeply, irreversibly. You can already feel it, can't you? That strange feeling inside lately, that feeling that something is ending, that something new is trying to emerge from all this pain. You have felt moments recently where your soul became strangely emotional for no obvious reason. Moments where old memories resurfaced unexpectedly. Moments where you suddenly became tired of carrying certain burdens. Moments where your spirit quietly whispered, "I cannot stay in the same place anymore." That is not random. That is the beginning of awakening. Because the version of you that entered this painful season is not the same version listening to this message now. You changed, even if you do not fully realize it yet. The pain changed your vision. The waiting changed your heart. The disappointment changed your discernment. The loneliness changed your priorities. And yes, some of those changes hurt deeply. Some parts of you had to break. Some illusions had to collapse. Some people had to leave. Some expectations had to die. Because where I am taking you next cannot be entered by the old version of you. The stronger version had to be built first. And I know there were times you misunderstood the process. You thought the silence meant rejection. You thought the delay meant punishment. You thought closed doors meant failure. But what if I was protecting you from things your heart was not ready to carry yet? What if the delay was not abandonment, but preparation? What if the reason certain things fell apart was because they could not follow you into your next season? Listen carefully now. This next part matters deeply. The breakthrough coming into your life is not only about changing your circumstances. It is about changing you, because blessings without transformation often destroy people. And I love you too much to allow that. So yes, the process took longer than you wanted. Yes, there were nights you cried silently. Yes, there were moments you almost stopped believing things could improve. But my child, you made it through the worst part. And the reason you are hearing this message tonight is because heaven wants you to stop calling yourself broken. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. You are being refined. You are being prepared. And soon, very soon, you will begin to understand why the battle had to happen this way. But stay with me, because what I am about to reveal next may completely change the way you see your entire story. The next part is important. Do not miss it. My child, there is something I need you to finally admit to yourself tonight. You have been hurting far longer than most people realize, and perhaps even longer than you realize. Because pain does something strange when it stays too long. At first, it feels sharp and obvious, but eventually, it becomes part of your normal life. You stop talking about it. You stop expecting people to understand it. You stop explaining what is happening inside you because every explanation feels exhausting. And slowly, you learn how to function while carrying invisible heaviness. That is what happened to you. You adapted to pain that was never supposed to become permanent. You became skilled at looking okay while silently falling apart inside. You learned how to answer "I'm fine" automatically even when your spirit felt overwhelmed. You learned how to keep conversations shallow because the real truth sitting inside your heart felt too heavy to unpack. And the frightening part is, most people around you never fully noticed. They saw your responsibilities, they saw your routines, they saw your public face. But they did not see the emotional exhaustion hidden underneath all of it. They did not see the nights when your thoughts became too loud. They did not see how often fear whispered to you in silence. They did not see the private moments where disappointment sat heavily inside your chest. And because nobody fully saw it, part of you started believing maybe your pain did not matter. Maybe you were overreacting. Maybe you just needed to be stronger. Maybe everyone else handled life better than you. But my beloved child, that is not true. You have been carrying emotional weight that would have crushed many people. And still, you kept moving forward, even when your energy disappeared, even when your heart felt numb, even when hope became difficult. I saw all of it, every hidden tear, every anxious thought, every silent breakdown. Every lonely moment when you stared into darkness wondering if anything in your life would truly change. And I need you to hear me carefully now. Your pain was never invisible to me, not once. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Do you know how many times I stayed near you while you cried quietly where nobody could hear? Do you know how many times my presence held you together when your mind was close to collapsing under pressure? There were moments you thought you survived by accident. But it was not an accident, it was grace. It was me sustaining you quietly while you believed you were alone. And yes, I know there were moments you felt abandoned. Moments where silence made you wonder if your prayers were even reaching heaven. Moments where disappointment repeated itself so often that you stopped expecting good things altogether. That kind of pain changes people. It changes how they think. It changes how they trust. It changes how safe they feel in the world. You became cautious, guarded, emotionally tired. Part of you became afraid to hope too much because disappointment had trained your heart to expect loss. And what hurt even more was this: you still kept trying. That is what exhausted you most. Not merely the pain itself, but the constant effort of carrying pain while pretending to remain okay. You kept showing up. You kept trying to hold relationships together. You kept trying to stay positive. You kept trying to believe. You kept trying to function while internally fighting battles nobody else knew existed. And eventually, you became tired of being strong all the time. Tired of always carrying the emotional weight. Tired of constantly recovering from disappointment. Tired of acting like things did not affect you deeply. My child, you do not have to pretend with me. You do not have to perform strength here. I already know where you feel weak. I already know the memories that still hurt. I already know the fears you rarely say aloud. I know how certain words from people stayed in your spirit far longer than they should have. I know how rejection wounded parts of you that still have not completely healed. I know how betrayal made you question your worth. I know how loneliness slowly convinced you that nobody truly understood your inner world. And perhaps the hardest part of all was how isolated you felt carrying it. Because many times you wanted comfort, but instead you felt misunderstood. You wanted reassurance, but instead you received silence. You wanted someone to notice your exhaustion, but instead people kept expecting more from you. More patience, more effort, more strength, more endurance, until eventually you started feeling emotionally invisible. But my beloved, you were never invisible to me. Not during the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Not during the moments anxiety wrapped itself around your thoughts. Not during the days when your smile hid exhaustion. Not during the mornings when your body woke up tired before the day even began. I saw all of it, and I stayed. That matters, because there were moments darkness whispered dangerous lies into your mind. Lies that told you nothing would improve. Lies that told you your future would always feel this heavy. Lies that told you your life would never truly change. Lies that told you you were too damaged now. But those lies were never truth. They were only the voice of exhaustion speaking louder than hope. And exhaustion can distort perspective. That is why I need you to stay close to me in this next season. Because wounded hearts often start believing hopeless things, and hopelessness slowly drains life from the soul. But hear me now. Your story is not ending in this place. This pain did not come to permanently define you. This heaviness is not your final identity. And the reason I am speaking to you this way tonight is because you have spent too long calling yourself broken when you are actually becoming transformed. There is a difference. Brokenness says there is nothing left. Transformation says something new is being built. And even though this process has hurt deeply, something is being built inside you right now. A deeper strength, a deeper discernment, a deeper dependence on me. You are changing in ways you cannot fully see yet. But listen carefully. The next part matters deeply. Because the pain you carried was not only emotional, there was also a hidden battle happening underneath everything. A battle you could not fully see while you were inside it. And once you understand what was really happening behind the scenes, your entire story will begin to make sense in a completely different way. Stay with me, because what I reveal next may completely change how you see the delays, the betrayal, the exhaustion, and the battles you thought were destroying you. The next part is important. Do not skip it. My child, I know there were many nights when you asked me the same painful question over and over again. Why is this taking so long? You asked it quietly, sometimes with tears, sometimes with frustration, sometimes with exhaustion so deep you barely had energy left to pray at all. And if you are honest, there were moments when the delay hurt more than the battle itself. Because pain feels different when you can see an ending. But uncertainty slowly drains the soul. Not knowing when things will change, not knowing if doors will ever open, not knowing whether the prayers you keep repeating are actually leading somewhere. That kind of waiting tests people deeply, and it tested you deeply too. There were seasons when you watched other people move forward while your own life felt stuck. Moments when you wondered why breakthroughs seemed to happen for everyone except you. Moments when comparison quietly poisoned your peace. You tried not to let jealousy grow in your heart, but secretly, you wondered why your journey felt so much heavier than everyone else's. You saw people celebrating while you were barely surviving emotionally. You saw others receiving opportunities while you were fighting invisible battles just to stay mentally steady. And slowly, the waiting became personal. You started asking questions you were afraid to say out loud. Did God forget me? Did I do something wrong? Am I being punished? Why does it feel like heaven is silent? My beloved child, listen to me carefully now. The silence was never abandonment, and the delay was never rejection. It was preparation, for the vision awaits an appointed time. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come. Habakkuk 2:3. You see, what you could not understand while suffering is this. Some blessings become dangerous when they arrive too early. Because if certain doors had opened before your spirit matured, they would have destroyed your peace instead of blessing your life. I know that is difficult to accept emotionally, because pain always wants immediate relief. But I was seeing farther than your current emotions could see. You were asking me for an outcome, but I was also protecting your future. And many times, protection looks exactly like delay. There were parts of your heart that still needed healing. There were patterns inside you that still needed breaking. There were attachments that still needed loosening. There were people around you who could not follow you into the next season of your life. And if I had released the blessing too soon, you would have carried those unhealthy things directly into it. That is why some doors remained closed, not because I was ignoring you, but because I loved you too much to let you arrive prematurely. You thought you were waiting on the breakthrough, but in many ways, the breakthrough was waiting on you, waiting for your spirit to become stronger, waiting for your discernment to become sharper, waiting for your identity to stop depending on outside validation, waiting for your emotional foundation to become stable enough to carry what was coming next. Because, my child, success without inner healing often becomes another prison, and I refuse to build your future on a broken foundation. So while you thought nothing was happening, deep things were happening underneath the surface. I was exposing hidden fears. I was revealing unhealthy attachments. I was teaching you the difference between peace and distraction. I was teaching you how to survive uncertainty without losing your soul completely. I was teaching you how to depend on me when control disappeared. And yes, sometimes that process hurt terribly, because growth often feels like loss before it feels like transformation. You lost certain relationships. You lost old versions of yourself. You lost illusions. You lost expectations. You lost timelines you once believed your life would follow. And there were moments when those losses felt unbearable, especially because nobody else could fully see what was happening internally. People around you only saw delays, but heaven saw development. People saw silence, But heaven saw preparation. People saw you struggling. But heaven saw you becoming stronger in places nobody else could measure. And there is something else I need you to understand tonight. The waiting season revealed who and what truly had control over your heart. Because delays expose idols. When things did not happen quickly, what surfaced inside you? Fear, bitterness, hopelessness, control, anxiety, desperation. The waiting exposed those things not to shame you, but to heal you. Because hidden wounds cannot be healed until they are revealed. And yes, there were moments you handled the process imperfectly. Moments you became emotionally overwhelmed. Moments frustration made you distant. Moments fear distorted your perspective. But even then, I never stopped working on your behalf. Not once. I was still aligning things, still protecting you, still redirecting certain dangers away from your future, still preparing places your eyes could not yet see. You thought your life was falling apart, but often I was removing what could not survive where I am taking you. And my child, this next truth matters deeply. Sometimes delays are not only about preparation, sometimes they are also about preservation. There are people who receive things too quickly and lose themselves completely afterward. They become prideful, dependent, emotionally unstable, spiritually empty. They build public success while privately collapsing internally. But I wanted something different for you. I wanted you rooted, whole, grounded, able to carry blessings without being destroyed by them. That is why this process has taken longer than you expected. Because I care more about your long-term peace than temporary emotional relief. And I know part of you still struggles to fully trust that. Part of you still carries disappointment from how long the process lasted. Part of you still feels emotionally bruised from the waiting season. That is understandable. Long delays leave scars on the heart, especially when you prayed sincerely, especially when you hoped deeply, especially when you truly believed change was coming, only to experience another setback again. That repeated disappointment exhausted your spirit more than anyone realizes. But listen carefully now. This next revelation is important. You survived a season that was never designed to destroy you. It was designed to transform you. And one day, you will look back at this delay differently. You will realize certain doors had to remain closed. Certain people had to disappear. Certain plans had to collapse. Certain illusions had to die. Because if your old life had continued the way you wanted, you would never have become the person capable of walking into your true future. The waiting changed you. The silence deepened you. The uncertainty strengthened you. And the delay forced you to develop roots deeper than feelings. That matters more than you understand right now, because storms destroy shallow roots. And where I am taking you next, you will need deeper roots than before. So no, the delay was not punishment, and no, heaven did not forget your name. I was building strength in hidden places. I was healing things beneath the surface. I was aligning moments you could not yet see. And now, something is beginning to shift. You can feel it already. The heaviness is changing. The old season is weakening. The exhaustion is no longer defining you the same way it once did, because what once felt permanent is beginning to break. But stay with me now, because the next part reveals something you did not fully realize during the waiting season. There was a hidden war happening around your life the entire time, and once you understand who was truly fighting against your peace, you will finally understand why the pressure became so intense. The next part is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, now I need to reveal something deeper, because the battle you survived was never as simple as you thought it was. You believed you were only fighting circumstances, only fighting delays, only fighting emotional exhaustion, only fighting disappointment. But underneath all of it, there was a deeper war happening around your life. A hidden war over your peace. A hidden war over your identity. A hidden war over your future. And whether you realized it or not, the pressure became so intense. Because the enemy recognized something valuable inside you long before you fully recognized it yourself. That is why the attacks became so personal, so relentless, so emotionally exhausting. Because darkness often attacks most aggressively where purpose is strongest. And for a long time, you misunderstood the intensity of the battle. You thought the pressure meant you were weak, but often, pressure reveals importance. Think about everything that tried to stop you. The fear, the anxiety, the repeated discouragement, the exhaustion, the isolation, the mental battles, the confusion, the constant feeling that every time you tried moving forward, something pushed against you again. That was not random. And no, I am not saying every difficult moment came directly from darkness, but I am saying there was resistance around your growth, resistance around your healing, resistance around your future. Because once you fully become who I created you to be, certain chains break permanently, and the enemy fears that version of you deeply. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. Ephesians 6:12. My beloved child, there were moments when the battle became so heavy that you almost lost sight of yourself completely. You remember those moments, the moments when fear became louder than faith, the moments when anxiety wrapped itself around your thoughts so tightly you could barely think clearly, the moments when exhaustion distorted your perspective until everything looked hopeless, the moments when you quietly asked yourself, why does everything feel so hard? Why does peace disappear so quickly? Why do I feel under constant pressure? You thought something was wrong with you, but part of what you were feeling was warfare, because darkness wanted to exhaust you before your breakthrough arrived. The enemy knew something you did not fully understand yet. You were closer to transformation than you realized, and many people become most vulnerable emotionally right before major shifts happen in their lives. That is why the attacks intensified. That is why confusion increased. That is why discouragement kept returning. Not because heaven abandoned you, but because your future carried weight. And I know there were moments when the battle became so internal that nobody around you even knew what was happening. You kept functioning externally while internally fighting fear, sadness, doubt, and exhaustion all at once. Some days your body kept moving, but your spirit felt completely drained. You smiled while secretly feeling numb. You spoke normally while mentally carrying storms nobody could see. And the hardest part was this: you started believing the battle would never end. That is what exhaustion does. It makes temporary pain feel permanent. It makes fear sound truthful. It makes hopelessness feel logical. But my child, the enemy lied to you repeatedly. You were never as abandoned as you felt. You were never as weak as you believed. And your future was never as hopeless as fear tried to convince you. Because even in your worst moments, I was still protecting you. Do you know how many times your mind almost collapsed completely, but my presence quietly held you together? Do you know how many times you narrowly escaped decisions that would have damaged your future permanently? Do you know how many unseen dangers were redirected away from your life? You only saw the battles you lost emotionally, but heaven also saw the disasters you survived spiritually. And there is something else you must understand now. The enemy did not only attack your circumstances, he attacked your identity. Because if darkness can convince someone they are worthless, broken, forgotten, or hopeless, it becomes easier to control their future. That is why so much of your battle happened in your thoughts. The constant self-doubt, the constant overthinking, the constant fear that maybe you were not enough. Maybe you were too damaged now. Maybe nothing would truly change. Those thoughts exhausted you more than people realize. And over time, you became emotionally tired of fighting your own mind. But listen carefully now. Those thoughts were never the voice of truth. Because truth speaks differently than fear. Fear says, you are too broken now. Truth says, you are still becoming. Fear says, nothing will improve. Truth says, a new season is forming. Fear says, you are alone. Truth says, I never left you. And my child, the reason I am exposing this hidden battle now is because I need you to stop agreeing with the lies that almost destroyed your peace. You have spent too long talking to yourself like someone abandoned. Too long expecting disappointment. Too long preparing emotionally for disaster. Too long assuming the worst before anything even happens. The battle trained your nervous system to stay in survival mode, even when danger was no longer present. That is why rest has felt difficult. That is why peace has felt unfamiliar. That is why joy sometimes feels suspicious to you now. Because prolonged emotional warfare changes the body, the mind, and the spirit. But hear me clearly tonight. You are not meant to stay trapped in survival mode forever. This season is ending. The constant heaviness is breaking. The fear that followed you for years is losing its grip. And yes, part of you is afraid to fully believe that, because disappointment trained you to expect pain. But my beloved, this next season will require you to relearn peace. You will need to relearn safety. You will need to relearn hope. You will need to relearn how to live without constantly bracing for emotional impact. That healing will take time, but it is beginning, even now, quietly, deeply, slowly. And there is one more truth I need you to hear before we move forward. The thing that almost broke you became the very thing that built you. I know you cannot fully see that yet, because pain always feels destructive while you are inside it. But look at who you are becoming now. You discern people differently. You recognize unhealthy energy faster. You no longer chase every opportunity desperately. You no longer trust appearances as easily. You became wiser, stronger, deeper, more aware, more spiritually sensitive. The battle changed you, but it did not destroy you. In fact, it forged something powerful inside you. What almost crushed your confidence became the place where endurance was built. What almost destroyed your peace became the place where discernment was born. What almost silenced your voice became the place where spiritual strength was formed. That is redemption, my child. Not because the pain itself was good, but because I refused to waste your suffering. I took what came against you and used it to prepare you. That is why you survived. That is why you are still standing. That is why something inside you refused to completely die even during the darkest nights. Because my hand remained over your life the entire time. And now, the battle is changing. The war that once exhausted you is beginning to reveal the strength it secretly created inside you. But stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something you still do not fully realize. The pain changed you more deeply than you understand. And the version of you emerging from this battle is no longer the same person who entered it. The next revelation is important. Do not skip ahead, my child. There is something happening inside you right now that you still do not fully recognize. You are no longer the same person who first entered this battle. I know there are days when you still feel emotionally tired, days when your mind still drifts back toward fear, days when certain memories still sting unexpectedly. But even with all of that, you have changed more deeply than you understand. And the reason this matters is because growth rarely announces itself while it is happening. Transformation usually feels messy while you are inside it. Most people think growth feels powerful, but often real growth feels confusing, slow, uncomfortable, invisible. Sometimes it even feels like failure while it is happening. And that is exactly what happened to you. You thought you were falling apart, but many times you were actually outgrowing old versions of yourself. You thought you were losing confidence, but I was stripping away false confidence built on unstable things. You thought your world was collapsing, but I was removing foundations that could not support your future. And yes, that process hurt deeply, because becoming someone new often requires grieving who you used to be. There are parts of your old self that cannot follow you where I am taking you next. The version of you that depended too heavily on outside validation. The version of you that ignored red flags just to feel loved. The version of you that kept overextending yourself emotionally for people who gave very little back. The version of you that tied your worth to how useful you were to others. The version of you that constantly betrayed your own peace trying to keep everyone else comfortable. That version is fading, and my child, that is not loss, that is transformation. We also glory in sufferings because suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Romans 5:3-4. You see, the battle forced you to notice things you ignored before. You notice energy differently now. You notice dishonesty faster. You notice manipulation sooner. You notice when something feels spiritually heavy. You notice how certain people leave you emotionally drained while others bring peace into your spirit. That awareness did not come from nowhere. Pain sharpened your discernment. And although you would never choose suffering willingly, some wisdom only arrives through survival. You learned what exhaustion feels like. You learned what emotional burnout feels like. You learned what betrayal feels like. You learned what it feels like to carry pressure silently while still functioning outwardly. And because you learned those things, you became softer toward hurting people, more compassionate, more understanding, more emotionally aware. The old version of you judged pain quickly. The new version recognizes hidden suffering in others. That matters, because broken places often become the birthplace of compassion. And there is something else I need you to understand now. The battle also exposed your unhealthy patterns, not to shame you, but to free you. You began noticing how often you abandoned yourself emotionally trying to avoid conflict. You noticed how much anxiety controlled certain decisions. You noticed how often you sought reassurance from people instead of stability from me. You noticed how much fear influenced your choices. And at first, seeing those truths hurt, because awareness can feel painful before it becomes healing. But my child, you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. That is why exposure was necessary. The process revealed hidden wounds, so restoration could finally begin. And yes, sometimes you resisted that process. Sometimes you wanted quick relief more than deep healing. Sometimes you wanted the old comfort back, even when the old comfort was unhealthy. That is human. But despite your resistance, I continued transforming you quietly underneath the surface. You became less impulsive, less naive, less desperate for approval, less willing to ignore your own inner warnings. You became slower to trust shallow appearances, slower to chase temporary distractions, slower to hand your peace away carelessly. That is wisdom being formed, and wisdom often comes disguised as painful experience. My beloved child, do not misunderstand what I am saying. I am not telling you to become cold. I am not teaching you to stop loving people. I am not asking you to harden your heart. No, I am teaching you discernment without bitterness, boundaries without cruelty, wisdom without fear. Because some people become wounded and turn completely cold afterward. But that is not my plan for you. I am not making you harder. I am making you stronger. There is a difference. Hardness closes the heart. Strength steadies the heart. And the strength being built inside you right now is deeper than emotion. It is becoming rooted, stable, grounded. That is why certain things no longer affect you the same way they once did. Things that used to completely destroy your peace now only disturb you temporarily. Situations that once would have sent you spiraling emotionally now reveal how much growth has actually happened. You still feel deeply, but you recover differently now. That matters, because healing is not becoming emotionless. Healing is learning how not to drown inside every emotion that passes through you. And my child, there is another reason this transformation had to happen. The future I prepared for you requires a stronger identity than the one you carried before. Because if you enter your next season still desperate for outside validation, people will control your peace too easily. If you enter your next season without boundary, you will drain yourself trying to save everyone else. If you enter your next season emotionally dependent on unstable people, their instability will constantly shake your spirit. So yes, the battle changed you, but it changed you for survival. It changed you for wisdom. It changed you for the future waiting ahead. And one day you will realize something that may surprise you deeply. The delay did not only protect the blessing from the wrong people, it also protected you from becoming the wrong version of yourself. Because immature blessings create unstable lives, and I love you too much to allow that. That is why the process became deeper than circumstances. I was not merely trying to change your environment. I was changing you quietly, patiently, carefully. Even during the nights you thought nothing was happening. Even during the moments you felt abandoned emotionally. Even during the seasons where confusion became exhausting, transformation was still unfolding underneath the surface. And my child, this next truth matters deeply. Part of your pain came from trying to return to old versions of yourself that no longer fit who you are becoming. You kept wanting old comfort, old certainty, old emotional patterns, old coping mechanisms. But your spirit has outgrown them now. That is why certain environments feel uncomfortable lately. That is why certain conversations drain you faster. That is why your soul no longer tolerates things it once accepted easily. You are changing, and growth creates separation. Not everyone will understand the new version of you emerging from this process. Some people preferred the old version because that version required less accountability. The old version tolerated more disrespect. The old version stayed silent more often. The old version sacrificed peace to keep others comfortable. But the version rising now is learning balance, learning wisdom, learning self-respect, learning spiritual discernment. And yes, that may upset certain people, but do not fear that. Because every transformation creates distance from what no longer aligns with your future. And I know there are moments where that loneliness still hurts. Moments where growth feels isolating. Moments where you wonder why fewer people seem able to understand you now. But hear me carefully. Isolation is not always punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes I reduce distractions so your spirit can hear me more clearly. Sometimes distance protects growth while it is still fragile. And what I am building inside you right now is still growing, still strengthening, still becoming stable. That is why you must stop speaking about yourself as if you are only damaged. You are not merely someone who suffered. You are someone who survived transformation. You are someone who kept moving while your entire inner world was changing. You are someone who continued breathing through battles that should have completely destroyed your hope. And that matters deeply to heaven, but stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something even deeper. Not everyone connected to your old season was meant to follow you into the new one. And once you understand why certain people disappeared from your life, many painful memories will finally begin to make sense. The next part is important. Do not skip it. My child, there is something painful you have been trying to understand for a very long time. Why did certain people disappear from your life the moment you needed them most? Why did some relationships suddenly become distant? Why did certain connections that once felt important slowly fall apart? Why did people you trusted deeply become strangers to your spirit? And perhaps the hardest question of all, why did some people seem comfortable watching you suffer without truly being there for you? I know those questions have lived quietly inside your heart, because rejection leaves confusion behind, especially when you gave love sincerely, especially when you stayed loyal, especially when you carried people emotionally while secretly drowning yourself. You expected certain people to fight for you the way you fought for them, but instead, many became distant when your season became difficult. That hurt you more deeply than you admitted, because part of you believed loyalty would guarantee permanence. But my beloved child, not everyone assigned to one season of your life is assigned to your future. Can two walk together unless they are agreed? Amos 3:3. There are people who can walk with you while you remain small, but become uncomfortable the moment growth begins. There are people who enjoy your presence when you are constantly available, constantly giving, constantly sacrificing yourself, but become distant once you start healing, setting boundaries, and protecting your peace. And there are people who loved the old version of you because the old version required less accountability from them. The old version tolerated emotional imbalance. The old version ignored disrespect to avoid abandonment. The old version stayed silent to keep relationships comfortable. But the version emerging now is changing. You are learning discernment. You are learning emotional honesty. You are learning the difference between connection and dependency. And not everyone benefits from that growth. That is why some relationships became strained, not because you became cruel, but because you stopped abandoning yourself to keep everyone else comfortable. My child, I know how painful that process has been, because even when people hurt you, part of your heart still wanted them to stay. You kept hoping certain people would finally understand you, finally choose you consistently, finally value your heart properly. But many times, you were asking emotionally unavailable people to give you the safety only I can truly provide. And that disappointment exhausted you repeatedly. You kept overextending yourself emotionally, trying to save connections that were slowly draining your spirit. You kept giving chances, giving energy, giving understanding, giving patience, until eventually you became empty. And some people still asked for more. That is why this separation had to happen. Not to punish you, but to preserve you, because there were relationships attached to your life that were quietly weakening your spirit while you kept calling it loyalty. There were environments keeping you emotionally anxious while you kept calling it normal. There were conversations disturbing your peace while you kept calling it friendship. And there were people benefiting from your exhaustion while offering very little healing in return. I know that truth hurts, but truth is what sets hearts free. My beloved, listen carefully now. You were not rejected because you lacked value. Many people simply lacked the capacity to carry the depth of who you are becoming. That is different. And yes, some people left because the new version of you became harder to manipulate, harder to control emotionally, harder to guilt into self-betrayal, harder to keep trapped inside unhealthy cycles. Your growth disrupted old dynamics, and not everyone wanted those dynamics to change. That is why some people became uncomfortable once healing began inside you. Once you stopped apologizing for needing peace. Once you stopped over-explaining your boundaries. Once you stopped chasing people who gave inconsistent energy. Once you stopped shrinking yourself emotionally to fit inside places you had spiritually outgrown. That shift threatened unhealthy connections, because healed people become harder to emotionally control. And I know part of you still grieves those losses deeply, especially the people you truly loved, especially the ones you imagined would remain forever, especially the relationships you prayed over repeatedly. You wanted restoration, you wanted honesty, you wanted mutual care, you wanted understanding. But sometimes, my child, people cannot follow you into the next season because they are committed to versions of you that no longer exist. And if I allowed every old connection to continue unchanged, many of those relationships would slowly destroy the peace I am building inside you now. That is why distance became necessary. That is why certain conversations faded. That is why some doors quietly closed without explanation. You kept asking why everything changed so suddenly. But many separations were happening spiritually long before they became visible physically. Your soul was already outgrowing environments your emotions were still attached to. That internal conflict exhausted you, because growth and attachment were pulling you in opposite directions at the same time. Part of you wanted peace, part of you feared loneliness, part of you wanted healing, part of you still hoped unhealthy people would suddenly become safe. That battle inside you lasted longer than most people realize. But my child, you cannot heal properly while constantly returning to environments that reopen your wounds. And yes, I know loneliness has frightened you, because sometimes toxic familiarity feels emotionally safer than healthy uncertainty. At least familiar pain feels predictable. At least familiar disappointment feels known. But I need you to understand something deeply now. Loneliness is not always evidence that you are abandoned. Sometimes loneliness is simply evidence that transformation is happening. Because growth changes relationships. Healing changes conversations. Wisdom changes access. And peace changes what your spirit can tolerate. You are no longer emotionally designed for constant chaos. That is why certain environments exhaust you faster now. That is why your soul reacts differently to negativity. That is why your spirit feels disturbed around certain people, even when your mind tries to excuse their behavior. Your discernment is increasing, and discernment changes everything. You are beginning to feel what aligns and what drains, what heals and what harms, what brings peace and what quietly steals it. That awareness is not punishment, it is protection. And my child, there is another truth you must hear tonight. Not every person who left your life was sent to destroy you. Some simply reached the end of their assignment in your journey. Not everyone who leaves is evil. Some people only belong to a previous chapter. Some connections were temporary teachers. Some relationships revealed wounds you still needed to heal. Some people exposed unhealthy patterns inside you. Some mirrored areas where you still lacked boundaries. And although losing them hurt, their departure created space for deeper healing to begin. That is why you must stop romanticizing every past connection. Stop blaming yourself for every ending. Stop replaying conversations wondering how you could have saved people who were unwilling to grow with you. You are not responsible for carrying everyone emotionally forever. That burden was crushing your spirit. And I never asked you to sacrifice your peace in order to keep broken relationships alive. You are allowed to heal, allowed to rest, allowed to choose peace, allowed to protect your heart wisely, allowed to stop chasing people who repeatedly show you inconsistency. That is not selfishness, that is maturity. And my beloved child, the loneliness you feel now will not last forever. I am aligning healthier connections for your future. People who will not constantly drain your spirit. People who can honor your growth instead of fearing it. People who will not require you to betray yourself emotionally in order to remain connected. But first, you had to survive separation. Because separation revealed where your identity was still attached to people instead of rooted in me. That revelation was painful, but necessary. And now, something inside you is becoming freer, stronger, clearer. You are learning that peace matters more than forced connection. You are learning that healing sometimes requires distance. You are learning that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your spirit. That wisdom will protect your future deeply, but stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something even more powerful. You survived things that should have completely destroyed you emotionally. And once you fully understand how much strength was quietly built inside you during those battles, you will never see yourself the same way again. The next part is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, pause for a moment and truly think about everything you survived. Not casually, not quickly, really think about it. Because there were seasons in your life where, honestly, you did not think you were going to make it through emotionally. There were moments when the pressure became so heavy that even breathing felt exhausting. Moments when your mind became a battlefield. Moments when disappointment piled on top of disappointment until your heart no longer knew how to expect good things anymore. And yet, you are still here. That matters more than you realize. Because many people saw your survival externally, but only heaven saw how close you came to completely collapsing internally. I saw the nights when your thoughts became darker than you admitted to anyone. I saw the mornings when you woke up already emotionally tired before the day even began. I saw the moments you sat silently carrying fear that nobody around you fully understood. I saw the times you questioned your purpose, questioned your future, questioned whether your life would ever feel peaceful again. And my beloved child, there were moments when the battle became so intense that part of you secretly wanted to disappear from everything for a while. Not because you truly wanted life to end, but because you desperately wanted the pain to stop. You wanted rest, you wanted relief, you wanted peace. And for a long time, it felt like peace kept moving further away from you no matter how hard you tried to reach it. That exhaustion changed you deeply because prolonged survival mode slowly reshapes the nervous system. It teaches the body to stay alert constantly. It teaches the mind to expect disappointment. It teaches the heart to brace for pain before joy even arrives. That is why you became emotionally cautious. Why trust became difficult. Why hope sometimes felt dangerous. Because your soul learned what repeated disappointment feels like. But hear me carefully now, my child. The fact that you survived those battles is evidence that my hand never left your life. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. You thought you survived because somehow you forced yourself forward. But there were many moments when your own strength had already run out. The truth is, I carried you through seasons you never could have survived alone. Even when you did not feel me. Even when you believed heaven was silent. Even when fear convinced you that nothing was changing. I was sustaining you quietly underneath the surface. Do you know how many times your spirit was one step away from completely giving up, and still something inside you refused to die? That was not an accident, that was me. The enemy tried repeatedly to convince you that you were weak because you struggled emotionally. But struggling does not mean failing. Crying does not mean weakness. Exhaustion does not mean you are losing. Sometimes survival itself is spiritual warfare. Sometimes the victory is simply refusing to completely surrender your soul to hopelessness. And my child, you fought harder than you give yourself credit for. You kept showing up while emotionally drained. You kept functioning while mentally overwhelmed. You kept carrying responsibilities while privately exhausted. You kept trying even after repeated disappointment. That required strength. Not loud strength, not performative strength, but quiet endurance, the kind heaven honors deeply. And there is something else I need you to understand now. The enemy expected your pain to harden your heart completely, expected betrayal to turn you bitter, expected disappointment to destroy your faith, expected exhaustion to silence your spirit permanently. But somehow, despite everything, you still kept searching for light. You still kept hoping, even when hope became fragile. You still kept praying, even when your prayers sounded tired. You still kept reaching toward me, even during seasons where confusion overwhelmed you. That matters more than you realize, because darkness could not fully extinguish what I placed inside you. And yes, there were moments when your flame became very small, moments where all you had left was survival instinct, moments where your faith felt weak and exhausted, moments where you questioned whether you even had strength left to continue. But my beloved, a weak flame is still a flame, and I protected that flame carefully. While you were criticizing yourself for struggling, heaven was honoring your endurance. While you thought you were barely holding on, I saw courage. While you called yourself broken, I saw someone surviving a battle that should have completely destroyed them emotionally. That is why you must stop speaking to yourself like someone defeated. You are wounded, yes. Tired, yes. Still healing, yes. But defeated? No. You are still standing. And sometimes that alone is evidence of supernatural strength. There were traps you did not fall into. There were decisions you almost made that would have destroyed your future. There were moments despair almost swallowed your identity completely. But my hand stayed over you even during your confusion. That protection saved you more times than you realize. And now, when you look back honestly, you can begin seeing something clearly. You survived things that previous versions of you never could have survived. The old version of you would have completely collapsed under this level of pressure. But the version emerging now is different, stronger, wiser, more grounded, more discerning. The battle changed your capacity, and although you hated the process while living through it, the process built resilience inside you that comfort never could have created. You now know what emotional survival feels like. You now know what it means to continue breathing while carrying invisible heaviness. You now know how to survive uncertainty without fully losing yourself. That strength was forged through fire, and fire changes people permanently. But my child, there is another reason you survived. Your story is attached to purpose. The enemy fought you so intensely because your healing will eventually help heal others. Your survival carries testimony. Your endurance carries authority. One day, someone else will survive because they hear what you survived. One day, your story will become confirmation for another exhausted soul. One day, your wounds will speak life into someone still trapped in darkness. That is why you could not be destroyed. Your life still carries assignment. And even now, there are people connected to your future who need the strength being built inside you through this process. I know you still struggle to fully believe that sometimes, because pain narrows perspective. It makes survival feel meaningless while you are inside it. But one day, you will look back and realize your survival was never random. You were being preserved, prepared, protected, positioned, and the very thing that tried to bury you emotionally became the place where your deeper strength was born. That is redemption, not because suffering itself is beautiful, but because I refused to let your suffering become wasted. I built something through it. I shaped something through it. I strengthened something through it. And now, you are entering a season where you must stop seeing yourself only as fragile. Because there is strength inside you that you still have not fully recognized yet. You are stronger than fear told you. Stronger than disappointment convinced you. Stronger than exhaustion made you feel. And this next season will require you to finally see yourself the way heaven sees you. Not as someone abandoned, not as someone ruined, but as someone refined through survival. And my beloved, something else is beginning to happen now. The spiritual war that exhausted you for so long is beginning to lose its grip. The heaviness is shifting. The fear is weakening. The old season is ending slowly. You can feel it already. Moments of clarity returning. Moments of peace appearing unexpectedly. Moments where hope quietly begins breathing again inside your spirit. That is not imagination, that is transition. Because your season is changing, but stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something even deeper. The battle was never only about surviving pain. It was also preparing you for a shift already beginning underneath the surface. And once you understand what heaven has already started arranging behind the scenes, your entire perspective about the future will begin to change. The next part is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, there is something you are only now beginning to understand. The battle was never only physical, it was never only emotional, and it was never only about circumstances. There was a spiritual war happening around your life the entire time. A war over your peace, a war over your mind, a war over your identity, a war over your future. And once you finally understand this, many confusing seasons of your life will suddenly make sense, because for a long time, you kept trying to solve spiritual exhaustion using only natural solutions. You thought rest alone would fix it. You thought changing environments alone would fix it. You thought if circumstances improved, peace would automatically return. But my beloved child, some battles are deeper than circumstances. Some heaviness comes from unseen warfare. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. Ephesians 6:12. That is why certain seasons felt strangely intense, even when nothing obvious was happening outwardly. That is why fear sometimes appeared suddenly without explanation. That is why anxiety became overwhelming in quiet moments. That is why your mind often felt exhausted after certain conversations, environments, or relationships. There were spiritual influences pulling against your peace, and because you could not see them clearly, you blamed yourself for the exhaustion they created. You thought something was wrong with you, but many times, your spirit was reacting to warfare your eyes could not yet recognize. That is why some rooms felt heavy the moment you entered them. That is why some people drained your energy so deeply afterward. That is why certain environments disturbed your spirit even when everything looked normal externally. Your discernment was awakening. But before discernment matures, confusion often increases first. And my child, that confusion exhausted you deeply because you kept questioning your own instincts. You kept overriding your inner warnings. You kept explaining away things your spirit already recognized as unhealthy, partly because you wanted peace, partly because you feared conflict, partly because you hoped people would change. But your spirit already knew certain things were misaligned long before your mind fully accepted it. That internal conflict drained you constantly, and the enemy used that exhaustion strategically, because exhausted people become easier to discourage, easier to isolate, easier to confuse, easier to convince that nothing will ever improve. That is why darkness kept attacking your mind so aggressively, not because you were weak, but because your thoughts shape your direction. If the enemy can control perspective, he can delay purpose. If he can convince someone they are hopeless, abandoned, unworthy, or permanently damaged, he can keep them trapped emotionally even while breakthrough stands nearby. That is why your mind became such a battlefield. The overthinking, the fear, the constant anticipation of disappointment, the endless replaying of painful memories, the exhaustion from carrying invisible pressure every day. That was warfare. And I know there were moments where you genuinely believed the heaviness would never leave. Moments where anxiety became so normal that peace itself started feeling unfamiliar. Moments where your nervous system remained in constant survival mode. Moments where even resting felt difficult because internally, you stayed emotionally alert all the time. My child, that is what prolonged spiritual warfare often does. It trains people to live braced for pain. It conditions the heart to expect loss before joy even arrives. It makes people emotionally defensive before love even appears. And slowly, fear becomes a lens through which everything gets interpreted. But hear me clearly tonight. Fear was never meant to become your identity. Survival mode was never meant to become your permanent home. And the reason I am exposing this now is because your healing requires awareness. You cannot fight what you refuse to recognize. For too long, you thought every battle was simply you being too emotional. But there were spiritual pressures around your life trying to wear your soul down gradually, trying to exhaust your hope, trying to isolate you emotionally, trying to convince you that your future would never change, trying to make you forget who you truly are. And the frightening part is this: many of those attacks came disguised as ordinary thoughts, quiet thoughts, subtle thoughts, thoughts that sounded reasonable at first. What if nothing improves? What if you are too damaged now? What if nobody truly cares? What if peace never comes back? What if you always feel this exhausted? The enemy rarely begins with obvious destruction. He often begins with slow discouragement, small lies repeated consistently, because repeated lies eventually feel emotionally true. And my beloved child, you listen to those lies longer than you realize, not because you wanted to, but because exhaustion weakens resistance. That is why weary souls must stay close to me, because tired minds become vulnerable minds. And I know there were moments where you stopped fighting internally altogether. Moments where hopelessness quietly settled into your spirit. Moments where you emotionally disconnected just to survive the heaviness. Moments where numbness felt easier than constantly hurting. But even then, I never stopped fighting for you. Not once. When your prayers became weak, I stayed. When your faith became exhausted, I stayed. When confusion clouded your perspective, I stayed. When you questioned your worth, I stayed. And while darkness tried to destroy your identity, I quietly protected the deepest parts of your spirit from completely collapsing. Do you know how many times you almost gave up emotionally, yet somehow found enough strength to continue one more day? That was not random. That was grace sustaining you beneath your awareness. And now, something is changing. The spiritual fog is beginning to lift slowly. You can feel moments of clarity returning. Moments where peace suddenly appears without explanation. Moments where your spirit becomes tired of chaos instead of addicted to it. Moments where unhealthy energy becomes easier to recognize. That is awakening. That is discernment becoming clearer. And my child, the enemy fears awakened discernment deeply. Because once you clearly recognize what steals your peace, you stop partnering with it so easily. You stop normalizing dysfunction. You stop excusing unhealthy cycles. You stop reopening doors heaven already told you to close. That is why your spirit has become more sensitive lately. You are changing spiritually. Your awareness is increasing. And although that process can feel lonely sometimes, it is necessary for the season ahead. Because where I am taking you next requires clearer discernment than before. The next season cannot be built on confusion. It cannot be sustained by fear. It cannot flourish while your mind remains trapped in survival mode. That is why healing is happening now at deeper levels than you realize. Not merely emotional healing, spiritual healing. I am restoring your peace, restoring your clarity, restoring your confidence, restoring your identity. And although the process is gradual, it is already happening, even now, quietly, beneath the surface. The war that exhausted you for years is beginning to lose authority over your life. The heaviness is weakening. The fear is loosening its grip. The confusion is clearing slowly. And what once controlled your emotions so easily will not control you forever. Because, my child, your season is changing. The shift has already begun. You may not fully see it yet, but heaven is already rearranging things behind the scenes. Doors are quietly moving, alignments are forming, protection is increasing, and the breakthrough you once thought was impossible is closer than you realize. But stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something powerful. The shift already started before you even recognized it. And once you begin noticing the signs appearing around your life, you will understand why your spirit has recently felt different in ways you cannot fully explain. The next part is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, something has already begun changing around your life. Quietly, subtly, deeply. And part of you has felt it for a while now, even if you could not fully explain it. That strange feeling lately, that something is ending, that something new is trying to emerge, that your spirit no longer fits inside the old season the same way. You are not imagining that. The shift has already started. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. And my beloved child, this is important because many people expect transformation to arrive suddenly like thunder. But often, the greatest shifts begin quietly beneath the surface before they ever become visible externally. First, your thinking changes. Then your desires change. Then your tolerance changes. Then your spirit starts rejecting what once felt normal. And eventually, your entire direction begins shifting without you even realizing how deeply you have changed. That is what is happening to you now. You are beginning to outgrow survival mode, slowly, carefully. You can feel it in small moments. Moments where peace suddenly appears for no obvious reason. Moments where fear no longer controls you the way it once did. Moments where your spirit becomes tired of chaos instead of attached to it. Moments where you unexpectedly feel hope trying to breathe again inside you. That is not weakness, that is awakening. And I know, part of you is still afraid to fully trust it, because disappointment trained your heart to brace itself emotionally before joy could even arrive. You became so accustomed to setbacks that good things started feeling temporary. You learned how to emotionally prepare for loss before anything even happened. That is what prolonged survival does. It teaches people to expect pain before peace. But my child, this season is different. Not perfect, not effortless, but different. Because the heaviness that followed you for so long is beginning to loosen its grip. The fog is lifting, the confusion is clearing slowly, and your spirit is beginning to recognize my movement again. You may not fully understand what I am arranging yet, but things are moving behind the scenes. Doors are quietly shifting, alignments are forming, protection is increasing around your life, and situations that once looked impossible are beginning to rearrange themselves gradually. You do not fully see it yet because transformation often begins invisibly before it becomes obvious externally. Seeds grow underground long before anyone sees fruit. That is how many spiritual shifts happen too. Quietly, hidden beneath the surface. But my beloved child, pay attention now, because I have already started sending signs that the old season is ending. You have felt unusual emotional clarity lately. Moments where you suddenly realized certain people no longer belong in your future. Moments where your spirit became tired of pretending. Moments where old desires started fading. Moments where peace became more important than approval. Moments where your soul whispered, "I cannot keep living the same way anymore." Those moments matter. That is your spirit recognizing transition. And transition often feels uncomfortable before it feels beautiful. Because the space between old and new seasons can feel emotionally confusing. You are no longer who you used to be, but you have not fully arrived into the new season yet either. That in-between place feels strange sometimes, lonely sometimes, uncertain sometimes. But do not fear it, transformation lives there. My child, you keep asking why your spirit has felt restless lately, why old environments suddenly feel draining, why your heart no longer connects to things that once distracted you easily, why certain conversations exhaust you faster now. It is because your soul is changing frequencies spiritually. You are becoming more sensitive to peace, more sensitive to truth, more sensitive to alignment, and that increased discernment changes everything. You are beginning to recognize what feeds your spirit and what slowly destroys it. That awareness is part of the shift. And although growth can feel isolating, it is preparing you for the future waiting ahead. Because where I am taking you next requires a clearer mind than before, a steadier heart than before, a stronger identity than before. That is why so much inner work happened before external breakthroughs appeared. You thought heaven was delaying you, but heaven was stabilizing you. There is a difference. And my beloved, there are also practical changes beginning around your life now. Small openings, unexpected conversations, new opportunities, fresh ideas, new energy returning slowly, moments where creativity begins breathing again, moments where exhaustion lifts unexpectedly for a little while, moments where you suddenly realize, I do not feel as trapped as I used to. Those are signs, do not ignore them, because transformation rarely announces itself dramatically at first. It begins quietly, like dawn slowly replacing darkness. And I know, part of you still fears disappointment. Part of you still wonders, what if this changes nothing? What if things collapse again? What if I trust hope too early? My child, those fears are understandable after everything you survived. But fear no longer gets to lead your future. The old season trained you to expect survival. The new season will teach you restoration. And yes, restoration feels unfamiliar at first when your nervous system has been living inside survival mode for too long. That is why you must relearn peace slowly, relearn trust slowly, relearn emotional safety slowly. You are healing deeper than you realize. And healing changes how you experience life. Things that once controlled your emotions completely are losing power now. People who once manipulated your peace no longer affect you the same way. Situations that once sent you spiraling emotionally now reveal how much strength has quietly formed inside you. That is growth, real growth, not performative growth, not loud growth, but rooted transformation, the kind heaven builds carefully over time. And my child, this next truth matters deeply. The shift is not only happening around you, it is happening within you. Your thinking is changing. Your priorities are changing. Your emotional patterns are changing. Your boundaries are changing. Your relationship with yourself is changing. Even your prayers are changing. You no longer pray merely for escape. You pray for peace, you pray for wisdom, you pray for alignment, you pray for clarity. That reveals maturity your old self did not yet carry. The battle deepened your spirit, and although the process exhausted you, it prepared you for this next chapter carefully. Because blessings arriving without inner transformation often destroy people emotionally. But the version of you emerging now is becoming ready. Ready for healthier relationships, ready for deeper peace, ready for opportunities that once would have overwhelmed you, ready for stability, ready for joy without constantly expecting disaster afterward. And yes, it may still take time for your emotions to fully catch up to what heaven already started. That is okay. Healing unfolds gradually, but the shift is happening. Even now, quietly, steadily, irreversibly, the old season cannot hold you forever anymore. You are moving forward whether fear likes it or not. And soon, you will begin seeing undeniable evidence that heaven has already been working behind the scenes on your behalf. But stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something even deeper. You still carry hidden wounds from the battle that distort how you see yourself. And until those wounds heal properly, part of you will keep calling yourself broken when heaven calls you transformed. The next revelation is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, there is something I need you to stop doing. Stop speaking about yourself like someone permanently ruined. Stop introducing yourself to your own future through the language of damage. Stop calling yourself broken every time you remember what hurt you. Because the way you see yourself shapes the way you walk through life. And for too long, pain has been narrating your identity. You survived disappointment, so you started calling yourself damaged. You survived betrayal, so you started calling yourself difficult to love. You survived emotional exhaustion, so you started calling yourself weak. You survived seasons of confusion, so you started calling yourself lost. But my beloved child, those are not your true names. Those are wounds talking, and wounded thoughts distort identity. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. Listen to me carefully now. You are not merely someone who got hurt. You are someone who survived transformation. There is a difference. Brokenness says, there is nothing left. Transformation says, something new is being built. And although the process felt painful, something beautiful has been forming inside you this entire time. But because pain lasted so long, you began identifying more with the wound than with the healing. That happens to many weary souls. After surviving enough disappointment, people stop seeing themselves clearly. They begin interpreting everything through the lens of survival. They forget who they were before fear became normal, before exhaustion became constant, before anxiety became familiar. And slowly, their identity becomes shaped by what happened to them instead of who I created them to be. That is what I am healing inside you now. Because, my child, you are not your trauma. You are not your rejection. You are not your worst season. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinions spoken over your life by wounded people. And you are not the fear that keeps whispering you are too damaged now. Those things happened to you, but they are not you. I know there were moments when pain changed how you saw yourself deeply. Moments where rejection made you question your worth. Moments where abandonment made you feel forgettable. Moments where betrayal made you wonder if you were difficult to truly love. Moments where repeated disappointment convinced you that maybe life would always feel heavy. Those moments scarred parts of your heart. But scars are not proof of worthlessness. Scars are proof you survived, and survival changes people, especially when the battle lasted longer than expected. You became more guarded, more cautious, more emotionally tired. Part of you stopped expecting goodness because preparing for disappointment felt emotionally safer. That survival mindset protected you during hard seasons, but it cannot lead your future forever. Because survival mode was designed for emergencies, not for permanent living. And my beloved, you have stayed emotionally trapped inside survival mode longer than you realize. That is why joy sometimes feels suspicious to you now. Why peace sometimes feels unfamiliar. Why compliments sometimes feel uncomfortable. Why love sometimes feels unsafe. Why rest sometimes feels undeserved. Because your nervous system adapted to pressure, your mind adapted to uncertainty, your heart adapted to expecting pain. But this next season requires a different identity than the one fear built inside you. You cannot walk into restoration while still calling yourself ruined. You cannot receive healthy love while believing you are fundamentally unworthy. You cannot build peace while constantly speaking destruction over your own spirit. That is why I am correcting your identity now, not harshly, gently, patiently, because I know how long you carried these wounds silently. I know how many times people made you feel unseen. I know how many times you felt emotionally replaceable. I know how many moments you secretly wondered, what is wrong with me? But my child, nothing is wrong with you because you struggled. Nothing is wrong with you because pain affected you deeply. Nothing is wrong with you because exhaustion overwhelmed you sometimes. You are human, and humans become wounded when they survive enough disappointment. But wounded is not worthless. Healing is still possible. Restoration is still possible. Peace is still possible. And I need you to hear this next part carefully. The enemy benefited every time you called yourself broken, because defeated identities create defeated futures. If darkness can convince someone they are permanently damaged, they stop expecting transformation. They stop believing they deserve peace. They stop believing healthy love is possible. They stop reaching toward hope. That is why identity warfare became such a large part of your battle. The enemy did not only attack your circumstances, he attacked your self-perception. He attacked your confidence. He attacked your worth. He attacked your belief that your future could still become beautiful. But my beloved, heaven never changed its mind about you. Not once, even during your worst season. Even during your emotional exhaustion. Even during your confusion. Even during the moments where fear distorted everything. I still saw who you truly were beneath the pain. I still saw strength inside you while you called yourself weak. I still saw beauty inside you while you focused only on scars. I still saw purpose inside you while you questioned whether your life mattered. That vision never changed. And now, I need you to start seeing yourself differently too. Not through fear, not through shame, not through trauma, but through truth. You are becoming wiser. You are becoming stronger. You are becoming more emotionally aware. You are becoming more spiritually discerning. You are becoming more grounded. The battle did not merely wound you, it refined you. There is gold inside this process you still have not fully recognized yet. Because pain stripped away illusions. Pain exposed unhealthy patterns. Pain deepened your discernment. Pain forced you to develop endurance. Pain taught you how to survive spiritually when your emotions felt unstable. That does not mean the suffering itself was good, but it does mean I refused to waste it. I built something through it. And now, you must stop romanticizing the old version of yourself. The old version was not stronger simply because it smiled more easily. Some of what you call the old you was actually emotional unawareness. Some of what you call peace was actually avoidance. Some of what you call kindness was actually lack of boundaries. Some of what you call strength was actually overfunctioning while silently exhausted. I am not taking you backward. I am not rebuilding the exact same version of you that entered the battle. I am creating something wiser, more rooted, more emotionally healthy, more spiritually mature. And yes, that version may feel unfamiliar sometimes, because healing changes identity slowly. But do not fear the unfamiliar version of yourself emerging now. That version carries wisdom your old self lacked. That version recognizes red flags faster. That version values peace differently. That version no longer tolerates constant emotional chaos just to avoid loneliness. That version is learning self-respect. And my child, that growth matters deeply. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. There is a difference. Coldness closes the heart. Clarity protects the heart. And clarity is growing inside you now. You are finally beginning to recognize what drains your spirit and what restores it. What aligns and what harms, what heals and what manipulates. That awareness is part of your restoration. So stop speaking about yourself as if your story ended in the dark season. Your story did not end there. The battle marked you, but it did not define you. You survived, you adapted, you grew, you transformed. And although healing is still unfolding, you are no longer the same fragile person fear convinced you that you were. Something stronger is emerging now, something steadier, something wiser, something freer. And very soon, you will begin seeing evidence that the version of you rising from this battle is capable of carrying blessings your old self could never have sustained. But stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something powerful. The future forming around your life now is not trying to restore the old you. Heaven is creating a completely new version of you for the next season ahead. The next revelation is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, I need you to understand something clearly now. The version of you that is emerging from this season is not meant to return to who you used to be. I know part of you still wants that sometimes. Part of you misses the simpler version of yourself. The version that trusted easily. The version that did not overthink so much. The version that laughed more freely. The version that had not yet experienced certain betrayals, disappointments, or emotional exhaustion. And yes, there are pieces of that old innocence you still grieve quietly. Because pain changes people, especially prolonged pain. But my beloved child, I am not rebuilding your old identity. I am creating something deeper. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. 2 Corinthians 5:17. The old version of you survived through emotional survival patterns. The new version of you will live through spiritual alignment. There is a difference. The old version chased reassurance constantly. The new version seeks peace. The old version feared disappointing everyone. The new version values truth over performance. The old version ignored exhaustion until burnout arrived. The new version recognizes limits and protects rest. The old version overextended itself emotionally trying to save relationships. The new version understands that not every connection is meant to be carried forever. You are changing deeply. And although growth can feel uncomfortable, this transformation is necessary for the future waiting ahead. Because where I am leading you next requires emotional maturity your old self did not yet fully carry. I know that may sound painful at first, but listen carefully now. The old version of you was beautiful in many ways, yet also vulnerable in ways that repeatedly wounded your spirit. You trusted too quickly sometimes. You ignored red flags because you wanted to believe the best in people. You tolerated emotional imbalance too long because you feared abandonment. You carried responsibilities that were never yours because you tied your worth to being needed. And eventually, those patterns exhausted you deeply. That is why I allowed this season to expose certain things clearly. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because if the next blessing entered your life, while those old patterns still controlled you, you would sabotage your own peace without realizing it. The old version of you often confused love with self-sacrifice, confused peace with avoidance, confused strength with emotional suppression, confused loyalty with staying too long in unhealthy environments. But now, your eyes are opening differently. You are beginning to recognize patterns faster. You are beginning to notice energy more clearly. You are beginning to understand that protecting your peace is not selfishness. It is wisdom. And my beloved, that wisdom will protect your future deeply. You are no longer emotionally designed for constant chaos. That is why certain people feel exhausting now. That is why your spirit reacts differently to dishonesty. That is why your soul feels unsettled around manipulation, even when your mind tries to excuse it. Your discernment is maturing, and mature discernment changes how you move through the world. You no longer chase every opportunity desperately. You no longer force connections simply because loneliness scares you. You no longer ignore exhaustion, pretending you are okay. You no longer tolerate environments that slowly destroy your peace internally. That is growth, quiet growth, deep growth. The kind heaven builds carefully through seasons of pressure. And my child, there is another reason this transformation matters so much. The next season of your life requires stability, not performative stability, not temporary emotional highs, but rooted stability. Because blessings without inner stability often become burdens instead of gifts. I know you spent years asking me to change circumstances, and yes, circumstances are changing now. But before external restoration could fully arrive, internal transformation had to happen first. You needed stronger boundaries, clearer discernment, healthier emotional patterns, deeper self-awareness, a steadier relationship with yourself, a deeper dependence on me instead of constant outside reassurance. All of that is being built inside you now, even if the process sometimes feels slow. And yes, part of you still fears the future sometimes. Part of you still worries. What if I fall back into old patterns? What if fear returns again? What if healing does not last? My beloved child, healing is not perfection. Healing is progression. There may still be moments where old fears whisper again. Moments where old wounds ache unexpectedly. Moments where exhaustion returns temporarily. But you are not where you used to be anymore. That matters. Because the old version of you collapsed every time fear appeared. The new version feels fear, but continues moving anyway. The old version depended completely on external validation. The new version is learning internal steadiness. The old version abandoned itself emotionally, trying to keep others comfortable. The new version is learning self-respect. That transformation changes everything. And my child, you must stop apologizing for becoming different. Growth changes people. Healing changes priorities. Wisdom changes tolerance. And not everyone will understand the healthier version of you emerging now. Some people will call your boundaries distance. Some will call your peace coldness. Some will say you changed because they benefited from the old version of you who constantly overgave emotionally. But do not let guilt pull you backward into old cycles. You are not becoming cruel. You are becoming clear. And clarity is necessary for the next season ahead. Because where I am leading you next requires discernment stronger than fear. It requires confidence stronger than people-pleasing. It requires peace stronger than emotional chaos. And yes, you are still growing into that version, but it is already forming, even now, quietly, beneath the surface. You can feel it lately. The old distractions no longer satisfy your spirit the same way. The old chaos no longer feels normal. The old emotional games feel exhausting instead of exciting. That is evidence of transformation. Your soul is outgrowing survival patterns. And although that process can feel lonely at times, it is creating space for healthier things to enter your future. Healthier relationships, healthier decisions, healthier environments, healthier peace. And my beloved, there is something else I need you to hear carefully. Do not fear the unfamiliar version of yourself emerging now, because sometimes healing feels unfamiliar simply because pain lasted too long. You became so accustomed to survival mode that peace now feels strange. You became so accustomed to emotional pressure that calmness feels suspicious. You became so accustomed to disappointment that hope feels dangerous. But this next season is teaching your spirit how to live differently. Not merely survive, live. There is a difference. You are learning how to breathe again emotionally, learning how to rest without guilt, learning how to trust your discernment, learning how to protect your peace, learning how to stop shrinking yourself emotionally to fit inside unhealthy spaces. That is not weakness. That is wisdom, and heaven honors that growth deeply, because the version of you rising now is stronger than the version fear tried to destroy, wiser than the version disappointment exhausted, clearer than the version confusion controlled. And very soon, you will begin seeing evidence that this transformation was preparing you for blessings your old self could never have sustained emotionally. But stay with me carefully now, because the next part reveals something powerful. The blessing you prayed for is no longer being delayed because heaven forgot you. The blessing is arriving because you finally became strong enough to carry it without losing yourself. The next revelation is important. Do not skip ahead. My child, there is a reason the blessing did not arrive earlier. And no, it was not because I ignored your prayers. It was not because heaven forgot your name. It was not because you were unworthy. The delay happened because the version of you asking for the blessing years ago could not yet safely carry what was coming. I know that truth hurts at first, because part of you still remembers how desperately you prayed, how sincerely you hoped, how many nights you begged for relief. And yes, there were moments where the waiting felt cruel, moments where you watched others receive what you prayed for, while your own life remained stuck in uncertainty. Moments where disappointment became so repetitive that your heart quietly stopped expecting miracles altogether. But my beloved child, what felt like delay was often protection disguised as silence. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. You thought you were waiting on the blessing, but many times the blessing was waiting on your transformation. Because blessings without preparation often become destruction. I have seen people receive opportunities too early and lose themselves completely afterward. They become emotionally unstable, spiritually empty, consumed by pride, consumed by fear, consumed by unhealthy attachments. The blessing arrives, but because the foundation underneath them remains fragile, everything eventually collapses under pressure. But I refused to let that happen to you. I loved you too much to release certain doors before your spirit became strong enough to remain whole after they opened. That is why the process became deeper than you expected. I was not merely preparing circumstances, I was preparing you, preparing your mind, preparing your heart, preparing your discernment, preparing your emotional stability, preparing your identity. Because the future waiting ahead requires a version of you stronger than the one who first entered the battle. And my child, that version is finally beginning to emerge now. You are not the same person anymore. The old version would have lost itself inside certain blessings. The old version depended too heavily on outside validation. The old version ignored boundaries. The old version tolerated chaos too long. The old version sought comfort in emotionally unhealthy places. The old version often sacrificed peace, trying to keep everyone else happy. But the version rising now is wiser, more grounded, more discerning, more emotionally aware, more spiritually mature. That transformation matters deeply, because now the blessing no longer has to compete against the instability that once controlled your spirit. You are learning steadiness, and steadiness changes everything. I know there are still moments where fear whispers, what if things fall apart again? What if peace never lasts? What if disappointment returns? Those fears are understandable after everything you survived, but hear me carefully now. You are no longer standing in the same spiritual condition you once were. The battle strengthened you, the delay deepened you, the suffering refined you. And although the process exhausted you, it created roots inside you strong enough to hold what is coming next. That is why your spirit has been changing lately. You are no longer praying from desperation the same way. You are praying from surrender, from wisdom, from alignment. That shift matters more than you realize, because desperate people often chase blessings for emotional survival. But healed people recognize blessings as gifts instead of identities. You are finally learning the difference. And my beloved, this next truth is important. The blessing itself was never the ultimate goal. Transformation was. Because if I gave you everything you wanted while your spirit remained unstable, you would still feel empty afterward. External success cannot heal internal chaos. Only transformation can do that. That is why so much hidden work happened before visible breakthroughs appeared. You thought nothing was happening during the waiting season. But heaven was rebuilding your foundation quietly, patiently, carefully, even while you cried, even while you doubted, even while exhaustion distorted your perspective. I was still preparing you. And now, the evidence of that preparation is beginning to appear. You recover from emotional setbacks differently now. You recognize unhealthy patterns faster. You protect your peace more intentionally. You no longer chase every distraction trying to escape your pain. You no longer hand your worth to unstable people so easily. That growth changed your capacity, and capacity determines what someone can safely sustain. My child, many people pray for bigger blessings while refusing deeper healing. But blessings expand whatever already exists internally. If chaos exists internally, blessings amplify chaos. If insecurity exists internally, blessings amplify insecurity. If fear exists internally, blessings amplify fear. That is why internal restoration had to happen first. And yes, the process took longer than you wanted. But one day you will thank me for not answering certain prayers prematurely. You will thank me for the closed doors, the delays, the silence, the separations, because you will finally realize those painful seasons protected you from futures you were not emotionally ready to survive yet. I know that is difficult to fully understand now, because pain always wants immediate relief, but wisdom sees farther than temporary emotions. And wisdom is growing inside you now. That is why your spirit feels different lately. Calmer in some ways, more grounded, less desperate, less frantic. You are no longer chasing emotional survival the way you once did. Something inside you is stabilizing. That stability is preparation. And my beloved child, there is another reason the blessing is finally becoming safe in your hands. You are beginning to understand that peace matters more than appearances. The old version of you sometimes wanted outcomes more than wholeness. Now, you value wholeness differently. You value emotional safety differently. You value discernment differently. That maturity protects your future deeply, because the next season will not only bring opportunities, it will also bring responsibility. Responsibility requires stability, and stability is what heaven spent this entire season building inside you. You thought the battle was only punishment, but much of it was training. training your discernment, training your endurance, training your ability to remain grounded under pressure, training your spirit not to collapse every time fear appears. That training matters more than you understand right now. Because where I am taking you next, many people around you will still be emotionally unstable, still controlled by fear, still controlled by external validation, still controlled by chaos. But the version of you emerging now is learning steadiness. And steady people carry blessings differently. They do not panic as easily. They do not self-destruct as quickly. They do not abandon peace every time uncertainty appears. That strength was built through survival. And although the process wounded parts of you, it also strengthened parts of you that comfort never could have touched. That is why you must stop mourning only what you lost. You also gained wisdom, discernment, depth, awareness, endurance, strength. You became someone capable of carrying more than before. And my child, very soon you will begin seeing visible evidence that this new season is truly beginning. Doors opening unexpectedly, new alignments forming, fresh peace entering your spirit. Opportunities arriving with less struggle than before, not because life suddenly became perfect, but because you finally became prepared. The blessing is no longer dangerous in your hands now. You are becoming stable enough to hold it without losing yourself. That is why heaven is shifting things. That is why old seasons are closing. That is why your spirit no longer fits inside old patterns. You are moving forward now, quietly, steadily, irreversibly. And the most beautiful part is this. The future ahead will not merely reward your survival. It will reveal who you became because you survived. But stay with me carefully now, because the final part changes everything. There is one last truth you still need to hear. And once you understand it, you will finally realize why heaven never allowed you to give up completely during your darkest season. The final revelation is important. Do not skip ahead, my child. After everything you survived, after every silent night, after every hidden battle, after every moment where exhaustion almost convinced you to give up completely, there is one final truth I need you to understand. You were never abandoned, not once. Even during the darkest moments, when you believed heaven had gone silent, I was still carrying you. And the reason you are hearing this message now is because your season is changing in ways deeper than you fully realize. This is the moment your soul has been crying out for. Not because all struggles suddenly disappear overnight. Not because life instantly becomes perfect. But because you are finally beginning to see clearly what the battle was truly doing inside you all along. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. My beloved child, you spent so long asking me, when will things finally change? But now I need you to ask a different question. Who have I become because I survived? Because that answer changes everything. You became stronger than fear expected, wiser than pain intended, deeper than comfort ever could have produced, more discerning, more emotionally aware, more spiritually grounded. The battle that tried to destroy your identity actually revealed your resilience. And I know there were moments where you truly believed you had nothing left emotionally. Moments where you felt emotionally numb, spiritually exhausted, mentally overwhelmed. Moments where you questioned whether you would ever feel peace again. But look at you now. You are still standing, still breathing, still searching for light, still listening, still hoping. Even after everything that tried to silence hope inside you. That matters deeply because many people surrender completely when darkness lasts too long. But something inside you refused to die. Even when your faith became fragile, even when your prayers became exhausted, even when your heart became wounded, you kept reaching toward me. That quiet endurance moved heaven more than you realize. And my child, I need you to hear this next part carefully. The greatest miracle was never merely the blessing you prayed for. The greatest miracle is who you became during the waiting. Because if I had answered every prayer immediately, you would never have discovered the strength hidden inside you. You would never have developed discernment. You would never have learned the difference between chaos and peace. You would never have recognized how deeply your identity depended on outside validation. You would never have discovered how resilient your spirit truly is. The battle revealed your depth, and yes, the process wounded you. But it also awakened you, awakened your discernment, awakened your boundaries, awakened your awareness, awakened your dependence on me instead of unstable circumstances. That awakening changed your future permanently. My beloved, you are entering a season now where your life will no longer be controlled by the same fear that once ruled your thoughts. Fear may still whisper sometimes, but it no longer owns your identity. Because now you know something important. You survived your worst season already. And once someone survives what almost destroyed them, they stop fearing certain things the same way. You are beginning to realize your own strength. Not pridefully, but honestly. You are realizing, I made it through things I once thought would destroy me. That realization changes people deeply because survival rewrites perspective. The things that once shattered you emotionally now reveal how much growth has actually happened inside you. You recover differently now, discern differently now, protect your peace differently now. And yes, part of you still carries scars. Healing is still unfolding, but scars are no longer your identity. They are evidence of survival, evidence of transformation, evidence that darkness did not win. And my child, there is another reason this moment matters so deeply. The version of you rising now is finally emotionally capable of receiving what heaven has prepared without losing yourself in the process. That is why things are shifting. That is why certain doors are quietly opening. That is why your spirit feels different lately. You are no longer emotionally aligned with the old season. The old version of you chased survival. The new version is learning peace. The old version feared abandonment constantly. The new version is learning stability. The old version overextended itself emotionally, trying to save everyone else. The new version understands discernment, that maturity changes everything. Because peace can only remain where wisdom exists to protect it. And wisdom has been forged inside you through every painful season you survived. That is why you must stop mourning only what was lost. Look at what was gained: strength, depth, discernment, awareness, emotional intelligence, spiritual maturity, endurance. You became someone capable of carrying greater things now. And although the process felt unbearably long sometimes, it prepared you for this exact moment. The moment where fear no longer gets the final word over your future. The moment where survival begins turning into restoration. The moment where exhaustion begins giving way to clarity. The moment where peace slowly starts feeling possible again. That moment is here, even now, quietly. The shift already started beneath the surface, long before you recognized it. And very soon, you will begin seeing undeniable evidence that heaven has been moving behind the scenes this entire time. Unexpected opportunities, healthier relationships, deeper peace, clearer direction, restored confidence. Not because life suddenly becomes effortless, but because you are no longer the same person who entered the battle. And my beloved child, this final truth matters most of all. The enemy thought the battle would break you permanently, thought the delays would destroy your faith, thought the exhaustion would silence your spirit, thought the loneliness would convince you to give up completely. But look what happened instead. You survived, you transformed, you awakened. And now, the very pain that once almost destroyed you is becoming the testimony that sets other exhausted souls free. One day, someone else will survive because they hear your story. One day, someone else will keep going because your endurance showed them it was possible. One day, your scars will become proof that restoration exists even after deep suffering. That is why darkness could never fully destroy you. Your life still carries purpose. Your survival still carries assignment. And heaven was never going to allow the story to end in the dark season. Not after everything you survived to reach this moment. So now, breathe deeply. Release the identity fear tried to place on you. Release the belief that you are broken beyond repair. Release the shame of struggling. Release the guilt of being exhausted. You survived something heavy, and survival changes people. But you are not ruined, you are refined. You are not forgotten, you are protected. You are not abandoned, you are deeply seen. And the next chapter of your life will not be built on who you used to be. It will be built on the stronger, wiser, steadier person emerging from this battle now. So do not fear the future anymore, my child. You already survived the hardest part. And heaven is not finished with your story yet. If this message spoke directly to your spirit tonight, type Amen in the comments below. Subscribe and stay connected because God is still speaking. And send this message to someone who has been silently fighting battles nobody else can see, because they need this reminder tonight too.